Towson prepare for yet another trip up to the Confluence. Luke Jones and I will be on the scene on Sunday night. The good news is, even if we lose, it will not wreck my Christmas the way last year's did. But I'll tell you what, I am heartened by the way the Baltimore Ravens are playing football right now. Dennis Koulatsos joins us, of course, the host of the SSV on WNST, heard here on Thursdays from 3 until 5, and, of course, the sponsor of our WNST text service that has been strangely quiet for Orioles offseason news, Dennis. But the Ravens are creating their own little story here in December. I think 5, 6, 7 weeks ago, you and I get together once, maybe twice a week, and do some radio together. I don't think anyone would have thought they could be in sort of this catbird position of 7-5 with the schedule they have coming down the line, with the home games coming down the line, to be in the playoffs. I don't know that anybody was talking playoffs in October around here.
Nestor, not only are they 7-5, but they're improving. They're playing better. Marty Morningwig had his best week of the season. Joe Flacco, his best week of the season. The offensive line, the best week of the season. They ran the ball. They took chunk plays down the field. The defense played well, created turnovers that we all know it's not the best team that wins the Super Bowl, and we can use the word Super Bowl when we talk about these Ravens. It's not a stretch. They have a Super Bowl winning quarterback. They have the DNA. They have enough defense, although with the loss of Jimmy Smith, it's going to get a little bit harder to get there. But they may get in a position where they feel like they're playing with house money against some of these teams, like the Eagles, who are coming back down to earth now. And I tell you what, for the AFC is wide open, and this team can make some noise. I like their chances, and I'm not ready to concede the Pittsburgh game, and I'm sure they're not either. Pittsburgh has to play Cincinnati on a Monday night. They're going to come off of a short week. Antonio Brown is banged up. Maybe that offsets the loss of Jimmy Smith. But at this point, I think Ravens Nation has to be feeling real good about our chances right now.
Well, let's talk about the offense. Let's talk about the little explosion we saw against the Detroit Lions. It was one thing for the Kansas City Chiefs to be playing so well in September, and I know the Eagles were all the rage in November. It really matters how you're playing in December, and I'm not ready to forget all of these awful performances over the last 3 months, or certainly give Joe Flacco or anyone on the offense, Marty Morningwig, a hall pass. But if they are rounding in form, and if what we're seeing is a healthy version of Wallace, a Macklin who can go out there and create a little separation and catch a ball now and again. And I know, look, there were a lot of drop balls in the first quarter of the game that did not reflect well upon anyone, but they dusted off. They've come back. I think they've dusted off from an offensive standpoint all season long to be able to go out and put 37 points up on the board on Sunday.
Yeah, I think it's just amazing how Joe Flacco looked so much better, so much more confident. He was planting his feet because the offensive line was playing so much better. The guy actually had some time to throw the ball. And let's talk about Chris Moore, wide receiver 3, showed up big on special teams, showed up big on the field, a huge upgrade over Brashard Perryman, who should not play the rest of the year. Chris Moore should be on this team making plays. The offensive line, Matt Skura in particular, James Hurst, I saw him kicking out people. That's what it's all about. It was a total team victory, but this offense, if they can get any kind of offense combined with their defense and their special teams, this team is going to be a very, very tough out in the playoffs. Defense travels well no matter where they go.
Dennis, we all remember last year, no Jimmy Smith specifically in the fourth quarter against big game receivers. It was a real problem for the Ravens. And, I know you and I went round and round through a draft season, which I know you love talking about, and then the post of the afterglow of the draft. And certainly for Luke, we spent a week here beating up Ozzie about not drafting offensive players, about how do you draft a cornerback, the Alabama thing. Maybe they should have taken the tight end at that point. But it turns out to be kind of prescient at this point. They're gonna go or not go based on how Marlon Humphrey plays here over the next month.
Yeah, thankfully now how brilliant does Ozzie Newsome and company look in drafting Marlon Humphrey? I for one, I'll step up and say it. I didn't like the pick. I didn't think they needed a defensive back, but it's so nice to have him, the luxury of him this time of the year versus a street free agent. We don't have Sharice right back there getting picked on. Hopefully the kid steps up. Hopefully they'll give him some help over the top. When they play Pittsburgh, who do they match up against? Antonio Brown. Pick your poison, right? But it's good to have a young player with an upside going to be with this team for a long time with some great DNA versus having a street free agent back there in the backfield. So even with the loss of Jimmy Smith, I think there's enough depth in the secondary this year with Brandon Carr and the rest of the cast of characters. Kennedy coming back. that they can actually shore up that back end.
Where are you assessing Joe Flacco at this point? Threw a couple of nice balls that got dropped, throws as beautiful a long ball as you'll ever see. Boy, the protection and the fact that these veteran guys, that they're now working together. And, I talked to Flacco about it after the game. And, how many times did he ever throw Macklin a pass? How many times was he out there running around with Austin Howard in the preseason? He wasn't. How many times was he taking snaps from Ryan Jensen in the preseason? He wasn't. The rounding out of this offense, Alex Collins wasn't even on the team, back in the spring. So this particular group, it feels to me like it's taken a long time for them to find some continuity, which did not exist in October when Griff Whalen and Campanaro and Chris Moore are the intended receivers in that point in time.
Yeah, no question about it. Stanley, Hurst, Jensen, Skora, and Howard, if they can keep this group together, if they can stay healthy, even Ronnie Stanley, he has shown a penchant so far in 2 short years of getting hurt. If they could just keep these 5 linemen together, and get them to work together going forward, I think that'll be a big benefit for Joe Flacco and the rest of the offense. Joe Flacco, let's remember about his knee now. Maybe a year removed from knee surgery, he's starting to feel, a year and a half, he's starting to feel like his old self again. And once he gets confidence in that offensive line that he actually has time to sit there and plant his feet and let that ball rip, as you mentioned, no one throws a better deep ball than Joseph Flacco. And they will go, I think the Ravens will go, as not as far as their defense will take them, because their defense, and they have enough defense and special teams to go all the way. This team will go as far as their offense takes them. So hopefully they can continue doing well with Collins and Buck Allen coming in fresh in the fourth quarter with those fresh legs, and Danny Woodhead doing some damage. But these receivers, Nestor, to your point, they've got to hold on to that football. They let them down time and time again, particularly in the first half. And fast forwarding to the offseason, they're Ozzie Newsome or whoever's up there, they'll have to get Joe Flacco a dependable receiver with some hands that can actually catch the ball. And but I did like the scheme. Pete DeLutis texted me that looks like Marty Morningwig used page 2 of the playbook. Finally went to page 2, and Joe Flacco talked about it earlier in the week. They needed to be more aggressive, and he's a big arm quarterback. He doesn't like to dink and dunk. He likes taking chunk plays downfield, and that's what they did. They played to Joe Flacco's strengths. And look, 44 points later, we're all very happy about it.
It helps when you can run the ball.
It helps a lot. And, Detroit had a very poor run defense, so before we get all giddy about that, and that's what happened. They were playing a single high safety, which allowed the Ravens some latitude there to take some shots with their receivers. But look, we'll take the victory no matter who it is, and we'll be just very, very happy with great momentum. They should be favored the rest of the year, except their road trip with the Steelers. And to me, look, it's still the Steelers. It's still a rivalry game. I'm not ready to concede a loss to the Steelers at all.
Hey, I've sat around watching the Red Zone channel the last couple of weeks, and, I'll tip my cap to Brady and even the Roethlisberger this week, who will get that opportunity to go up there and test themselves. And, look, I don't expect them to win in Pittsburgh this week. I expect them to go up there and play competitively, much more competitively than we saw here 10 weeks ago or 8 weeks ago, whenever it was after that London game, which was a mess around here. I'm expecting better things from them. But I also see that the possibility of going to a Nashville, the possibility of going to a Jacksonville, where's San Diego or L.A. or whatever they call themselves. The Chiefs lost again. They haven't won. They won one game in the last 2 months, for crying out loud. I don't have any fear that if the Ravens win 3 out of the last 4 games and have to go to Jacksonville or Nashville, that they're going to struggle. I think that they're going to be a very, very formidable team to see in January, given the coaching, given the pedigree, given the veteran players, and given the fact we have a real quarterback.
Yeah, they have the pedigree. They have the DNA. They have the Super Bowl winning quarterback on the offense. They have Terrell Suggs, Eric Weddle on defense. They have enough veteran leadership. And special teams, how huge have special teams been this year? Jerry Rosberg and John Harbaugh, let's give them some credit. And Justin Tucker, my goodness gracious, we have the best kicker in the game, good from 55 plus, right down the middle. And look, they pin the other teams back and make them go the length of the field to score. Campanaro has been good in the return game. So has Chris Moore. Special teams, a third of what every team does. They do so many things so well. So there's so many little things, which is why they were able to overcome the offensive deficiencies thus far. And man, if they could just figure out this offense going forward. And I'll go back to Pittsburgh. I like our chances. Short week for them. They'll be banged up from the Bengals game. They'll be very, very physical. No, I wouldn't be surprised if the Ravens go up there and take him down.
He is Dennis Koulatsos. He's out at Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. And, of course, the SSV on WNST, heard here each and every Thursday from 3 until 5 and rebroadcast on Sunday mornings. We have a Sunday night game in Pittsburgh this week, and Dennis is going to be out there selling cars all week. What's going on at Coons Ford, Dennis?
Well, our offense is always dynamic here at Coons Ford. We always throw it deep, and we're supported by Ford Motor Company and Ford Motor Credit. 0% for 72 months, plus cash back on every new vehicle.
Whoa. Let me hear that again. 0%, 72 months.
72 months, plus cash back on every new car, truck, SUV in stock. It's the biggest sale of the year. We're clearing out the decks of 2017s. As the 2018s are rolling in, they all have heat and air conditioning. They all have a lot of equipment on them. No better time to buy a vehicle than right now from Coons Baltimore Ford.
How many cars do you have that park themselves?
How many cars we have to park and sell?
No, the park themselves, the self-parking.
You know what? About half of them, about 50% of the cars have that capacity to park themselves. You live in a city, you know all about city parking. You set it, you forget it. The car it's dynamic. It's like watching a spaceship land as they park themselves. And in 2021, Nestor, they'll be driving themselves, which is something that I'm not sure I'm ready for.
You know what's really weird is I have not been a part of one of those yet. I've seen them on TV. I have never, even driving around the city, I have never stopped and seen a car park itself yet. I mean, I literally, and if I bought one of them from you, I probably would still put the car in reverse, look in because that's the way I've been doing it for 35 years, for crying out loud, right?
Well, the coolest part, Nestor, still is that the big trucks, the 250s and 350s, they're capable also of not parking themselves, but also parking a trailer behind them. So that when you think of that, the mass of taking 40 and 60 feet of parking it by itself, it's mind-blowing. It can also take boats down ramps and everything and configure it themselves based on GPS settings. So the technology is there, and it's in Ford vehicles right now.
So when you pull in, when you eyeball the spot and you're like, is that big enough for me to get my focus into or not? Does the car tell you, dude, this spot's not big enough for me to fit in? Does it reject the parking space?
Yeah, it calculates and it gives you how much distance you have between the bumpers, the front bumper and the rear bumper. That way you're comfortable enough because you just not only want to fit into the spot, you want to make sure the person behind you and the person in front of you, they also have room enough to get out without hitting your bumper. So it'll reject if it's too close, too tight for the other cars to get out. Very, very smart technology.
I've had to use the eyeball test for the last 35 years. Sometimes you try to rock it, you halfway get it in there, and you're like, screw it, I'll go around a corner and find another spot.
Well, we're not getting any younger, and you know what happens to a male's eyes once they hit 40+. They're not as reliable as they used to be, so why rely on your eyesight and stress yourself when you could just click one button in your vehicle, and it does it all for you. All
right, look, we're going to talk again on Thursday when you do the SSV, but are you predicting that the Ravens are going to win Sunday night, or do you expect them to lose in Pittsburgh?
You know what? I want to say this. If Antonio Brown doesn't play, I think the Ravens can take him down because he's such a difference maker. I think if he does play, we'll lose, but it'll be a tight match. But either way, I like our chances.
Well, the loss of Jimmy Smith, it's going to come back to cost us at some point, right? And especially if this team gets into January and has to see a Phillip Rivers or has to see a Tom Brady or has to see a Ben Roethlisberger, which will all be sitting there at some point, and those receivers. The loss of Jimmy Smith, when he was hobbling and walking off the field, I felt good that there's a Marlon Humphrey, but I also think it's hard to replace your best football player, and that's what he's been over the course of the year.
It is, and not only that, but Marlon Humphrey, the book on him coming out of college was he'd have trouble defending the deep ball. If things are in front of him, he's fine, but we saw that in the game against the Lions. Anything that went over his head, he was having trouble tracking. They're going to have to give the young man some help over the top for sure.
All right, Dennis Koulatsos will be out on Coons Ford Security Boulevard's front showroom as well as the parking lot, probably wearing some sort of parka because it's a little chilly out there these days. He'll be here on Thursday hosting the SSV on WNST. That's heard from 3 until 5. And, of course, if there's any breaking news at all, you get it first on the WNST text service. That is all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. I'm a very available individual, easy to find me out on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook, as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. It is Pittsburgh week around here, and I am Nestor, and we are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.